The Human Optimization Podcast is proudly brought to you by Vicon Supplements, where quality meets sustainability. Vicon's all-natural supplements are handcrafted and sustainably produced in Canada, bringing you products that nourish both your well-being and our planet. Visit viconsupplements.com today and be a part of a greener, healthier future.
Are you ready to embark on a journey to the best version of you? Join me, Lisa Pitel-Killah, as I dive deep into the world of hair tissue mineral analysis and functional medicine with fellow experts, and guide you on the path of unlocking your full potential. As a multi-time kettlebell sport world champion, I'm on a mission to reach high-performance professionals from around the world to help you minimize tiring symptoms, maximize health, and gain unstoppable energy. This is the Human Optimization Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Human Optimization Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Pitel-Killah, and today I have an amazing guest, Dustin Baker. Let me tell you a little bit about Dustin. He's a visionary entrepreneur at the forefront of health and fitness innovation. With over a decade of experience in the industry, his passion for optimizing human health led him to acquire BioProtein Technology, and we're going to talk about that today, and transform it into a pioneering company that's reshaping the landscape of natural wellness. His relentless pursuit of alternatives to synthetic drugs led to the creation of a breakthrough alternative to Rx, HGH, and peptide treatments, which has revolutionized the industry by offering safe and effective non-synthetic alternatives to prescription anti-aging hormone treatments that are helping to enhance the lives of countless individuals seeking a faster, easier, and safer approach to vitality and longevity. And let's be honest, who doesn't want that? Welcome, Dustin.
Thank you, Lisa, for having me on the show. What a extraordinary intro. I'm sitting here, I don't know who can see me or not, but I'm sitting here kind of laughing, smiling at myself because it's like, it's who is this guy that they're talking about? I guess it's me. I mean, people do wondrous things with words, but
I know.
I guess it is. Yeah. Thanks
it is you.
Thanks for having me on the show. I know.
No, and I'm so excited to talk about just, again, the science behind everything that you're doing, because I mean, that's what fascinates me, of course. And obviously health and longevity. I mean, that is where we're all going. So, but there's always a story behind why you're here, right? And give us a little background on yourself, like what led you down this path and to acquire this company and kind of take it to the next level. Tell us how you got here.
I mean, it's actually pretty simple. I was a user of the products years and years ago, over a decade ago. I was a normal guy, normal purchaser of the stuff, and I believed in it so much. Eventually, one day, I afforded myself the opportunity to acquire the formulas and what we have today, for myself and our company and our brand, because we knew that what we had worked and what I was using worked, but it just didn't have the engine or the message or the legs to get it to the rest of the people across, the world at this point who I think could benefit from it.
Yep.
And that's exactly what we've done. So we acquired it in 2018 and that's about 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago now. And we've shipped to over 30 plus different countries. We have physicians providing the products from here, which I'm in Florida, to Canada, to South Africa, and all over the world. So it's been a pretty wild ride. There's a lot behind that, but at its base, I believed in them. I used them. I believed in them. I am an opportunistic human being at heart. I find opportunities that I believe the rest of the world needs to have access to, and my job is to just bring those opportunities to them. And that's exactly what we've done.
That is amazing. And so give us a little background. So I want to talk about the implications of HGH, right? Human growth hormone. And obviously those levels change over time, right? As we age, right? Everything starts to kind of slow down. We don't produce as much anymore. And so give us a little background on that and some of the significant implications that you were noticing.
Yeah. So I think it's important to take a step back and understand what growth hormone is just from a kind of the beginning, because a lot of people, especially actually physicians as well, forget that sometimes it even exists, and it's very rarely looked at. It's very rarely added into blood panels these days with normal hormone blood panels. In fact, at least here in the United States, you have to ask for it specifically unless you are going to somebody that's, super into what we're doing.
Right.
And so it by and large goes overlooked or not looked at all. And growth hormone is your master hormone. It's a master hormone for both men and women. It's responsible for metabolic function, insulin sensitivity issues. It's responsible for energy and wound healing, sexual function, all kinds of fun stuff. And today in medicine, we like to talk a lot about testosterone is a huge thing that we hear about and other different hormone therapies. And we're missing an entire half of the puzzle, which is growth hormone.
Yeah.
So what we saw is with physicians is our physicians were attacking a lot of the testosterone space and sometimes, the estrogen space, but completely forgetting or overlooking the growth hormone space. And I have a few personal opinions on why that is with the regulations that exist for exogenous hormone therapies. Growth hormone has been demonized. HGH, human growth hormone, the prescription hormone replacement, has been demonized for better or for worse reasons. And that over the course of years, as it's harder and harder to get a hold of, or as the price for patients gets astronomical to the tune of $3,000 to $10,000 a month, physicians no longer continue to prescribe these types of products because nobody can afford them.
Yeah.
And because now this is dependent upon where you're at. Now, if you're prescribing these drugs outside of what they were originally created for, you could incur penalties, whether that's, penalties on your license, whether that's, any number of different things. So over the course of years, it gets completely overlooked. And that's where we decided to step in, is to add an option for individuals to not only maximize their existing hormone levels like testosterone or other things, but realistically to fill in the gap where growth hormone and now peptide prescriptions are lacking, whether that's FDA regulations, whether that's cost and availability, or whether that's offering something where the patient who's using any number of the products we just mentioned is not interested in, needles, invasive approaches, or the side effects that do come along with those types of drugs.
Right. And so tell me with regards to, the delivery system for your particular product, not injectable, right?
Correct.
Okay. So
Correct.
oral
We
administration.
utilize, we do oral administration. We utilize the mucosal lining in your mouth, which is, we express the blood vessels within your mouth so you can absorb as much of the raw materials as you possibly can directly into the bloodstream, and to do the best that we can of avoiding the digestive system. We are not an injection company. There's only two other ways to really increase or to take a product effectively other than swallowing it, which is nasally, which that would be very painful still because of the type of solution we've created, and or a suppository, which is not a business I'm in, and I wouldn't even know where to begin to create something like that. Let alone it would probably once again be very painful. So the oral route is the best method we have found that is the easiest adherence to by patients and users, and continues with the increased amount of compliancy, because the way that we build our products is to increase patient compliancy, to help physicians actually you can prescribe whatever magic pill you want, but if the patient doesn't take it, it doesn't really matter. So we look at things from a kind of a holistic point of view of efficacy and actual patient compliance usability.
Yeah. And what are some of the biggest, when we're talking about growth factors, we're talking about rejuvenation of the body, even, fitness, performance, recovery, things like that. Tell me some of the biggest benefits of using and supporting the levels of HGH.
So our community, whether it's physicians or patients, are very loud, and they like to tell us a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And often. And the number one thing that we hear, without question, it's almost absolutely repeatable, is within the first 10 to 14 days, large influx of energy. So there's several potential reasons for that, but energy is always the first thing reported. Second to that is specifically for gentlemen, and for guys who are experiencing or don't even know that they're experiencing this yet, but just because of age, it's kind of faded into the distance, which is sexual function. They will get and this is typically within the first few days, they will experience some sort of physical arousal in the morning when they wake up that they haven't experienced in years. Those are the two most powerful things older guys, and when I say older guys, I'm talking 35 and up, typically our perfect patient is around 44 to 54. Those are the things that they feel right off the bat within the first 2 weeks, and that's without question. The fun stuff for a lot of individuals past that is your physical changes, which it doesn't matter what drug you take. Any type of physiological change is going to take a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks to start seeing the benefits from because you're talking about cellular multiplication and differentiation or fat cell loss. Those things take 6 to 8 weeks. And then blood panels, we have blood panels done from 30 days to 90 days. And we've seen everything from increases in testosterone, which is fun to talk about because people don't know or understand why, because we don't sell a testosterone product. We sell a growth hormone product. But testosterone, free testosterone, and IGF-1 levels are typically what we look at. And in women, we've seen blood panels sent back, and men, but women were the first of improved TSH levels, so thyroid metabolic condition.
Now that's interesting. This is a big part of women's health, right? Think of all the women who have thyroid issues.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why I think it came up with women first. But yeah, so we've seen improvements in the blood panels. There's a lot of reasons why and again, we haven't done a clinical study. There's no possible way to do a clinical study on every single possible thing that ever comes up. So
no, we can't do that.
yeah, it would take 100 years, which I guess could be done, but we're in year 5 here. So, but the thing with women and especially with metabolic issues is that in women, we see a lot of issues of insulin resistance, meaning the way that their body utilizes food as an energy source is inhibited. And the reason why, this is a personal opinion, and why a lot of physicians I think would agree with me and the data would support this, is that insulin sensitivity issues are largely in part due to pharmaceutical drug use over long periods of time. 2 drugs in particular, which the female population, at least I can only speak for the United States because I don't know data outside of that, but in the United States, and not to say that men have not used these medications, because I have no idea, but they are 99% of women are using, well, excuse me, let me take that back. These prescriptions are used primarily by women. The first one being birth control, which is why I was saying 99%. Most men don't take birth control. Okay. I'm not saying nobody has. I'm saying most men are not prescribed or taking birth control. Somebody's probably done it. So that's why I can't for sure say 100%. The other is depressant medications, antidepressants.
Yes.
Women wildly in much larger numbers than men utilize pharmaceutical antidepressant drugs. Both of those drugs over long-term use, one of the biggest side effects is insulin sensitivity issues. So when you start to have women who are aging, getting into they've been using birth control they're prescribed anywhere now from 13 to 16 years old. I think 16 is older at this point. And you're taking this drug for 20 years, 30 years, however long it is. You're incurring that side effect. And it becomes very hard for women to lose weight in that respect, because it's not about the fitness regimen or the nutrition regimen. Regardless of those, the body is now put in a position where it's not utilizing the food that they're eating as an energy source, but it's storing it as a fat source. And there's it's a downstream effect from there. So that's why we see a lot of quick effects with women with weight loss. Is growth factors are repeatedly studied to improve insulin sensitivity issues. Same with men. Men are no different. Insulin sensitivity is kind of the name of the game right now of quote unquote why I can't lose weight. That's actually a legitimate reason. So it's been pretty impactful for a lot of guys and gals who are in that older age bracket who have needed to lose some weight.
I find it interesting too, because, in the health space now, even I'm noticing it more, and maybe it's because I'm now in my 50s, right? So when you're younger, you don't really think about it, and you tend to attract clients that are kind of in your age bracket as well. But I notice a lot more doctors now prescribing birth control in order to help menopause symptoms, which for me is not the right approach. Again, just my personal opinion, but I'm seeing it more and more now as well to try and level things out rather than.
I did not actually even know that.
Yeah.
Why do you know why they do that? Or what's the reasoning behind it?
Well, because here's my underlying thought process is that, so when
personal opinions.
Yeah, when we enter perimenopause, when, the adrenals are the secondary support for sex hormones in women, right? And then once we hit menopause and kind of past that, the adrenals are number 1. Well, tell me how many women people in general actually have optimal adrenal function these days with the amount of stress that we're all dealing with. Right? So you think about the adrenals and
Sure.
how taxed they are because of the stress that we're under, and we live in a very stressful environment. I mean, we're on our phones, we've got EMFs, we've got 5G, 10, whatever's coming next G,
Sure.
right? And all these things causing stress on our bodies. And so when the adrenals are wiped out, guess what? We don't have enough sex hormones on board, right? So that's why I find this really interesting, because if this is something that can help the body to increase that production, I think that this is, I think it's amazing, right? Because that's a huge
So
impact.
when it comes, yeah, and to piggyback off that, so when it comes to menopause, our physician, our medical side, because we
Yeah.
have, we deal directly with the patients, and then
Hmm.
we have, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, we have physicians, I believe in every state. We have national franchises that provide our stuff and do all
Yep.
these things and distribute it. So, but on our medical side, what we are seeing is a very large influx of physicians providing our product to women
Hmm.
entering into menopause. And the reason being is because we're talking about sex hormones, is that
Yeah.
a very common, and a lot of people don't know this, especially men, right? Why would I know other than just being in the industry? I would never have any idea. But
Yep.
one of the specific things that they offer women that are going to menopause that are interested in hormone optimization is actually testosterone replacement therapy,
Hmm.
because women need testosterone, and that's a whole big thing. Well,
Yeah.
try selling testosterone injections to a woman who is already having issues with aging and going through menopause, et cetera.
Yeah.
Well, we don't sell and we don't market our product as a testosterone boosting product, but it is heavily provided now to women entering menopause because women don't want to take the injections. And this
Mm.
is how this works. You can't utilize your natural testosterone, whether even if it's synthetic, you can't utilize testosterone, male or female, without the adequate amount of what's called insulin-like growth factor number 1, which is the
Hmm.
direct end result of growth hormone, which is our product BioPro Plus. Our product is simply just a matrix of 13 different bioidentical growth factors, IGF-1 being one of them. So when your
Hmm.
growth hormone goes down, you're no longer creating that IGF-1 at the same rate as you were before. So your ability to utilize the testosterone that's already in your body goes down along with that. So when you increase, it's kind of like rising tide raises all ships. And when you increase IGF-1, which this is not our science, this is settled science. IGF-1 is directly paralleled and symbiotic to optimize testosterone. So when you raise the IGF-1, you might not need the testosterone injections because your
Right.
body's just not utilizing the testosterone that it has. So you raise the IGF-1 and your testosterone goes along with it. So we're able to offer female patients specifically an alternative. And that's really where our whole marketing pitch is, right? It's an
Yep.
alternative to the injections. And that's not necessarily testosterone, but this is part of the puzzle. I mean, my job, I mean, I'm talking to you right now on a podcast, right? My job is literally going around a lot more. It used to be a lot more than this, but, travel around and go to different cities and educate physicians on just
Yep.
growth hormone and it falling off the map, for lack of a better terminology, and
Hmm.
IGF-1 and its uses when it regards to testosterone and estrogen and different hormones and injections and all that kind of fun stuff, which is
Yeah,
why I'm here today.
that's amazing. And so that this is a huge part though, because again, so important as we age, and especially if we want to kind of, I always call it aging backwards, right? Aging gracefully and
Hmm.
having good health at any age. I always say, one of the things I came up with was an idea of not thinking of it as a biological age number, but just take that number as the number of years of wisdom you've collected. I love
Sure.
that. Love that.
Somebody asked me the other day about like, hey, are you just trying to help people live to 200? No, no, I'm
No.
not actually. I don't believe in that. I don't want people to live to 200. I don't think that to be any good. What we try and do is we're not trying to extend, it's great if you want to live a little longer. That's great. What
Yep.
we're trying to do is we're not giving you some magic pill. It's going to make you live to 150. We want to give you back the life that you used to have and how you should feel and be happy every day and look in the mirror. And like, that's really where my passion comes in. This is kind of how
Yep.
my career started years and years ago was,
Hmm.
I was a younger guy. I worked specifically with men and women who are right at that 40+ year old mark. And like 44 is really where we see kind of the light switch flip
Yep.
of, hey, I'm looking in the mirror. I'm not the person I used to be. I've spent my whole life building my career or taking care of my family or taking care of somebody else. And
Hmm.
you let yourself go. not because you're just lazy. It's because you have priorities that you've set outside of yourself to help improve other people's lives that you're responsible for. And you wake up, it's always the same thing. You wake up like 44 years old, you look in the mirror and you're like, whoa, I don't look like I used to. I don't feel like I used to. I can't, I got to drag myself out of bed. You're not lazy. You didn't just you're not eating, hopefully not pizza and donuts and, sitting on a couch all day. It's that these things compound. A physician we work with here in town in Tampa,
Mm-hmm.
he has a great analogy. It's the decrease in the decline of hormones is like taking a paper cut every single day.
Yeah.
You might not notice it off the bat, right off the jump, but over the course of 20, 30 years, you have lacerations on your entire body and you're suffering from massive blood loss. All we're trying to do is stop the bleeding and hopefully try and get you back as much of that kind of life that you pass through really quick, at
Mm-hmm.
least for the remainder of your years. That's what we're trying to do because I'm a quality, not a quantity guy. I
100%.
like quality of life. I like quality stuff instead of how much I get. And that's the business that we're in. Not trying to give you 200 years of life. I promise you probably don't want that anyway, but giving you back the quality of life that I think human beings deserve. The better you help other people be and the better you make them feel, and it makes the world just a better place.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's amazing. And you're right. It's not about quantity, it's about the quality of the life that you have, right? And maximizing that to be
100%.
able to again feel your best. Because you think about how many people nowadays, especially as when we're talking about people in their 40s and 50s, even 60s, what have you, getting out of bed and just being like, "Oh my gosh, I need a jumbo size 18-ounce coffee to drink on the way to work in order to be able to function," which is not a healthy way to start the day.
I would agree with you. I love coffee, but it shouldn't be the crux of your entire life as well as any other, standard substance type deal. But yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
The greatest testimonials we get from individuals, and this is just the stuff that kind of sticks in your head, is one time an individual called and he was from, I tell this story often because this was several years ago when I was super involved in kind of like, I was still fielding phone calls
Mhm.
and we were still in our, I wouldn't call it our infancy, but I would say in our toddler stages.
Yep.
And I remember getting a phone call from a gentleman out of Chicago, and it was during the winter, very cold. And he's an older guy. He's probably in his early 50s, if I can remember. A very cynical, self-described, very cynical kind of negative style guy. And he called in because he was very concerned for his health
Mm.
after starting to take the product. That's
Okay.
fair. Why was he concerned? Because one day he woke up and he looked out the window, opened his shutters, tons of snow on the ground in Chicago. It was probably 3 degrees.
Yeah.
And he's like, today's going to be a great day. And he called in after that because he had never said that before. It had been years and years since he didn't realize. He's like, I hope I'm okay. And I took that. I actually was the person who answered that customer support phone call. And it
Wow.
was, still one of the best testimonials we've ever gotten. I tell that story all the time.
Yeah.
But that's what we're trying to help people
Mhm.
do. It's fun to work with athletes and have gold medals everywhere and trophies. But realistically, at the end of the day, I'm a normal guy like everybody else. The idea is to give people the best life that they can for themselves, their families, and whoever they're responsible to.
Amazing. And so let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk just a little bit about fitness performance, because this obviously can have a huge impact on the
Sure.
performance at the gym and training, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to growth hormone, you have to understand how growth hormone works. Okay. So growth hormone is a chemical that's secreted by the pituitary gland in your brain.
Mhm.
Before the body ever even uses it, it has to be converted by the liver into what are called growth factors. So that's really what we've been talking about here
Mhm.
for the last 27 minutes. Growth factors are really cool. They are is cellular signals. Okay. They're protein chains, which is where the name BioProtein Technology comes from. All right. They are proteins the liver creates from the hormone, and those proteins are cellular signals. They get sent out into the blood. They're called protein cytokines, and they get sent out into the blood to trigger cells to act, to perform a task. Typically, that's to multiply and differentiate, which is cellular regeneration.
Mhm.
The reason why you age is because those hormones go down, which means the end result, the growth factors, go down along with it, which
Yeah.
means the less amount of cellular signals that are be sent out into your blood to trigger those cellular functions. Now, when we're talking about performance, we're talking about things like blood oxygen potency, which is
Mhm.
VO2 max, your ability for, let's just say, cardio function. Okay. You're talking about cellular signals, IGF-1, which we talked about earlier, which is directly responsible for the multiplication and differentiation of muscle cells and wound healing. So if
Mhm.
you're trying to gain muscle mass or repair muscle in between workouts or bouts or whatever your time frame is, that's an IGF-1, that's a cell signal that's going to trigger the repair of that bodily tissue and muscle function. So
Mhm.
if you're at a decreased amount of those, whether you're 28 or whether you're 58, right? Because different people's levels are different.
Mhm.
The more growth factors that you can add in, at least to get yourself to, let's just use the term 100%, whatever that means for that individual,
Yep.
is going to clearly benefit them from a tissue repair standard. Okay. I came from, I spent quite some time in professional sports,
Mhm.
specifically in football. I did not
Mhm.
play in football. I was on the business side. But one of the things we would always teach athletes, or that was always taught to them, was games are not won in season, they're won in the off season. And that's because whoever could recover the best could work out the hardest, which would then lead to higher performance. And that's the area that we play in, which is how fast can we get a athlete to recover from their workouts and their performance, because that then compounds and it's added to, when game day shows up, they're more prepared, they're better rested, they've been able to put in more work during the off season, and then in turn leads to higher performance. The added energy and different things like that are clearly going to impact them quite quickly, so that's an
Yeah.
added benefit as well.
Amazing. And what do you think, like, so if someone was to come to you and say, who wouldn't benefit from this, I guess is my question.
Sure.
Because I feel like I don't even know what the answer would be. I feel like it would be everybody.
Yeah, and that's fun to say, but I don't think that's entirely accurate. And I would, believe me, I sell this stuff for a living, Lisa. I mean, this is how I pay my bills. And I would love to say everybody as well, but I don't think that's fair because our products are not
Yeah.
for everybody. And I don't believe any product is for everyone.
Yeah.
We very routinely get young, and it's typically males, but we get
Hmm.
young men who are like, hey, can I still take this? Yeah, you can take it. It's not going to hurt you,
Yeah.
but there's no reason to spend the money on it
Right.
because typically, and I'll follow this up with what I'll say next, but typically, you should be in the prime of your existence right now, and you shouldn't need things like that. Now,
Right.
with the data coming out that has come out since it's really been a hot topic since like 2020, 2021, with
Hmm.
which is hormonal decline in, especially they don't test this enough on women, but it's predominantly male studies. The type of hormonal decline at the rate of decline at which is happening now since 2020 with men in their 20s is obscene. The word I will use is
Really?
obscene. Yes, there are UK. So I'll finish my thought and then I'll explain the studies. So
Yeah.
we always tell young individuals like, hey, you shouldn't need this. But if
Hmm.
you are that concerned, you need to go see a physician
Hmm.
and get your blood panels done and check on what the actual biomarkers say about your position. And the reason why we added that comment, which we would have never said years ago,
Yeah.
is because the studies are now very clear that a young male who is 20 years old, I mean, it was 20 or 22 years old, something like that. This study was from the year 2020, has the exact same testosterone and hormone level as a 67-year-old man 20 years prior. So from the year 2000. So that's a
Wow.
massive decline. And then if you continue to follow the math and you go back to, let's say, 1940 or 1944, you're looking at a completely different human being. Even as much so as the physical changes of men, this is as a generalization, have
Hmm.
actually changed. Men's physical bodies have changed from what they used to look like as a normal human to what a lot of men look like today,
Yeah.
whether it's jawline, stature, body hair, a lot of different stuff. There
Hmm.
was another study that came out at the end of 2023, I believe, middle of the end of 2023. It was a United Kingdom. So it was a UK study. And it was a study related to fertility, because this is a whole big thing right now, too.
Yeah.
The fertility rates are dropping. What they have done, there was a specific scientist, I believe, who mathematically did a projection and calculated the amount of fertility in the men in the United Kingdom
Hmm.
and followed the data, made a projection that by the year 2043, 100% of men in the United Kingdom will not be able to procreate without the help of some sort of a medical intervention. 100%.
Wow.
So that's an extreme study. It's a mathematical projection, but typically mathematics and data are the cornerstones for any real type, whether it's business, health, whatever. I mean, numbers do not lie.
Yeah.
So those are just two specific studies, but I believe there's probably quite a few others. Again, not heavily studied with women. A lot of is male fertility, male hormone levels, but
Hmm.
it's at a point now, and the studies are so congruent, and they're not determined any longer by, because when you do clinical studies, they look at actual socioeconomical factors now, and they look at regions. So when you
Yeah.
do a clinical trial, depending upon how much money you want to spend, you pick different individuals from different ways of life and different parts of the world. So now these studies are now spanning basically the entirety of, internationally. I can't say that they've done these in Antarctica, but
Yeah.
I think you get my point. Is
Yeah.
they're quite widespread.
Wow, that's so interesting. And I find too, I guess one of the other parts that kind of comes back around, and again, I feel like I'm getting down a rabbit hole a little bit, but that's okay, is, thinking about our water supply. So when you think about the water supply and the purification process, even within, North America, and the amount of, you mentioned earlier, women taking birth control, that
Sure.
those hormones end up in our water supply, right?
A lot of things end up in your water supply.
Exactly. All those meds and everything else end up in the water
Yeah.
supply. So you have
Yeah.
to think that that's having an impact on all of the hormone levels in people.
I mean, I think you're 100% right, but it's just a variable in a lot of
Yeah.
things. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking right now and I'm wearing a shirt that has some level of polyester and spandex in it. Well, it's plastic. That's plastic. And you're covering your entire body in plastic.
Yep.
Now you have to pay a premium for linen and cotton style clothes. I'm
I
telling you,
know.
especially men's, if you go buy a suit or you go buy dress clothes,
Oh my
you pay an
gosh.
extreme premium for cotton and linen. Everything else has plastic in it. Well,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother study. I believe it was a study, and this is several years ago, where they put men in 100% polyester underwear. 100% of them went sterile within a very short amount of period of time. You're covering yourself in plastics. So whether it's
Yeah.
plastics, whether it's there's all kinds of weird stuff in your
Yeah.
water. Water filtration systems are a big,
Hmm.
I'm not the Captain America trying to fix every little piece, but I will tell you, water filtration is one of my things that I'm willing to, spend the time, energy, and money on. But you're
I
looking
agree.
at, pollution and different things that are sprayed out into whether it's your food or whether it's the air supply. I mean, all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's legislation now. Tennessee just banned some sort of thing where whatever they were spraying in the air was being sprayed via, airplanes, or I don't remember, you can go look it up, but that just happened like last week. But what are they spraying? What are these things? What are you eating? What are you drinking?
Right.
Whether it's for the greater good or it's not, all of these things typically directly impact your endocrine system, which is how
Yep.
your body produces, secretes, and uses hormones. And it's just a whole thing. That's why we're in business, Lisa. That's why we're in business. And,
Yeah.
like the government doing all this stuff. I mean, they've done a lot of my job actually for me. So it's,
Yep.
like I
Yeah.
said, for better or for worse.
Exactly. Well, and so I'm interested because you said that, so you've got physicians all over the world, because I think,
Yeah.
that part, but then you also work with end users. So just give information a little bit about how people can find the product. How do they work? Like, how do they get a hold of this if it's something that they want to
Sure.
try?
So, we used to, the formulas have been around since 2009. We acquired the
Yep.
company in 2018, did a big overhaul. We actually cleaned a lot of things up. We redid a lot of things. We made the products a lot more effective.
Mm-hmm.
But we also, part of that process was to create systems that patients and end users can get their hands on the products directly.
Mm-hmm.
The history of our company has been primarily we sell our products to physicians and or distribution
Mm.
systems that sell the products to physicians, and you would have to go to a clinic in order to receive these.
Got it.
We still maintain that functionality. In fact, it's bigger than it has ever been.
Mm-hmm.
With all these regulations, and especially with peptides having been secreted, growth hormone secretagogue peptides. I know peptides
Yeah.
is a general term, so don't
Mm-hmm.
send me emails. But with the ban on those, I mean, the half of my job's already been done, and we've garnered so many more physicians that have come on board from national franchises, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've always maintained that. We've always taken care of our physicians. We have our own, that's entirely part of our business. But
Mm-hmm.
since the creation and really the adoption of the general public with telehealth, which
Mm-hmm.
the whole COVID thing really gave us, we had to adapt and overcome that issue, because a lot of our physicians, especially in our areas, you're looking at California, New York, South Florida, you're looking at the largest rate of closings of clinics where the patients were no longer allowed to even enter in. They waited in their car.
Yeah.
It eliminated a lot of the patient physician interaction, especially providing products like ours, which are not insurance, they're cash based. So there's a relationship there. And that was extremely inhibited. So we had to create the ability for those patients, whether they were going to a clinic or not, to then get the products directly from us, which we did. That took off wildly fast. It was wildly successful. And then now it's very good where it's a really quite symbiotic relationship where the physicians still can provide their products in clinic for patients who want more of a hands-on approach and want a physician involved in their experience and do the blood panels, blah, 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 that kind of fun stuff. Or for patients who want to get it directly from us, they come in, they sign on, they get onto the website, they order their stuff, it ships to them within 2 days. And they can choose whether they would like to have an interaction with a physician or not. If they're looking for a physician, which people all ask us for all the time, we send us your information, your zip code. We connect you with who is in your area or who even can do or provide medical expertise, because a lot of these guys can actually cover multiple states. But you can really the choice is within the patient's hands. The choice is, does a patient want to go to a clinic or does he not want to go to a clinic? So I would say that it's very interesting because a lot of people actually still want to go and experience the process with their physician and have them overlooked, which is great.
I think that is great too. I mean, and again, having the option is awesome, right? Because again, some people just want to have that the confidence factor where they can ask questions and, get support and things like that just personally. So that's a great
I like to be
option
told
have.
what to do. I'm a guy who I like
Right?
to be told what to do. I go to an integrative physician. I like to be
Yep.
told, what do you want to do? Take this test, do
Yep.
this thing, show up here. This is what you need to change. I like that stuff. That's
Yep.
the kind of guy I am. I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I don't do that stuff. I go to my guy is I'm a big fan of integrative medical approach, and it is what it is.
Yep.
Like I said, I'm a user first and foremost of exactly the same stuff I'm promoting, and I
Mhm.
do the exact same stuff as a human being. Of what we believe in. So I totally
Amazing.
get that.
Amazing. And you mentioned blood labs.
Yeah.
So tell me with regards to like say an end user, are blood labs and measuring hormones and things like that something that they would want to, you kind of recommend doing or suggesting doing ahead of time or something like that? So how does that fit into the picture?
Again, that is the choice of the patient. And here's
Okay.
why.
Okay.
Typically, you would take your blood panels from a physician
Yeah.
for 2 reasons. One, we need to see where you're starting at.
Right.
Okay. But 2, and I speak primarily from men because that's what I am. And that's my best experience as a human being is for that. But for men, when we're talking about like testosterone therapy, which I am not a big fan of personally, I'm not saying it doesn't have its medical use. I'm not a candidate for it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But if you are on testosterone replacement therapy, you need to have your labs continue to take in because you're taking a synthetic drug, which has the ability to put you into what's called an abnormal space. Okay. And anytime you start taking synthetic drugs, whether they are deemed medically necessary or not, I'm not against pharmaceutical drug use. I'm for pharmaceutical drug use when it is deemed medically necessary, not as a first rate of like, I hurt my toe, I need to go get whatever I can possibly take to get me through the day.
Yeah.
I hope I'm explaining that properly. But you get your blood labs continuously taken because you need to monitor your levels and make sure you're not into an abnormal, dangerous space. And why I was saying that about pharmaceutical drugs is because anytime you take a pharmaceutical drug, you will incur some sort of a side effect. It is a synthetic drug. Now, whether that side effect is noticeable to you or not is very different. Okay. It is all pharmaceutical drugs, and I'm stealing this terminology from another physician. I didn't coin it, although I kind of wish I had. You're taking a selective poison. Okay. It is not natural to the body. That doesn't mean something bad is going to happen to you. People drink alcohol all the time. But if you drink a bottle of whiskey, something bad is going to happen to you. I promise you, whether it's emotionally, physically, or mentally, something bad is going to happen to you. If you drink one drink once every 6 months, the chances of a side effect happening is very small.
Yeah.
That's the analogy that I will choose to use. So when you're taking your blood panels over time, you want to maintain and manage your levels are within an acceptable range. With our product, we don't have the ability by design to put you into an abnormal space because the growth factors that we are extracting are They're 100% non-synthetic. They're considered bioidentical because they're molecularly identical to what your body's already producing. So what your body doesn't utilize, it excretes through urine or sweat. It doesn't put you into an abnormal space. So when patients utilize blood panels for our product, it's first and foremost to find a biomarker to see where are you starting from, and then secondly to see where you're at and to see, did this work for me? What did it raise? We don't have the ability to put you into an abnormal range where we have to be concerned about that, because also with these types of synthetic drugs, not ours, you have to worry about post-cycle treatments. So you're not just taking a synthetic drug, you're taking 3 other drugs to stop the side effects created by the first. In men, I mean, you have everything from gynecomastia, you have everything from, you're shutting down all of your natural production of testosterone anyway, which means your testicles are going to shrink up inside of your body. So there's all of these different drugs you got to take to then offset that.
Right.
That is typically what blood panels are used for. In ours, let's just say it's for the good stuff, right? It's for all the fun, none of the bad stuff. We just want to make sure it's working for you and that you're getting the benefits. We don't have to take blood panels to manage them because we're concerned that you're going into an abnormal range.
Got it. And with regards to just the implementation of the product itself, is it something people would use all the time? Do they cycle it?
Depends on
Depends on
the
their
individual
situation.
and their goals, right?
Got it.
So we talked about a couple different benefits of the product. One of them is for physical performance. Okay, well, if you're taking this because you're a professional athlete and you're taking it for in season or off season specifically, well, you can start and stop the product as you like.
Yep.
You don't have to off cycle because it's not negatively impacting your natural hormone function. You got to remember, we're focusing, we like to say right side and left side of the liver. On the left side of the liver, you have the actual chemical hormone that is being secreted by the brain that is being sent to the liver. And on the right side of the liver, you have the end result, which are growth factors. On the left side, you have the hormone, which we are not impacting. We're not manipulating the glandular function. We are not squeezing the glands like a peptide would to create more growth hormone. We're not manipulating the hormone in any way, shape, or form. What we're adding is we're just adding the proteins that are created by that hormone at the end. So we don't impact any of the bad stuff. We let your natural function continue. What we're giving you is the end result that has nothing to do with the actual creation and secretion of the hormone, which is why you don't incur any of the negative side effect. You're just taking the end result. So because of that, you don't have to cycle this. You don't have to stop taking it, because cycling basically means, and I'm sure your audience probably knows, but cycling basically means stop taking a drug so that way we don't negatively impact your natural hormone function. We never touch your natural hormone function, so that way you don't ever have to cycle it. When it comes to things like if you're having sexual function issues, you're a guy, you'll probably have to take this a lot longer because it's not necessarily fixing the issue. What it's doing is it's filling up the growth factors your body does not make any longer. Yeah. And so your body can then function more of a normal state of what it should. If you stopped taking the product, well, you're not giving yourselves the cell signals any longer. The same way as if you took a synthetic hormone drug, you're no longer giving yourself the actual chemical that's creating the response. So you're not going to you're not going to experience the benefits as you did when you were on the product itself.
Right. No, that makes total sense. And what about with regards to, so I'm assuming with regards to the product itself, there's different doses, right? Based on maybe weight or something, or is
we do a maximum dose.
Oh,
nope.
Okay.
Because your body, okay. So your body is going to, what you're doing is you're putting these cell signals into your body. Okay. Your body is going to choose to use them or not to use them. They will not use, there's 13 different growth factors within the product. Let's stick with IGF-1 because we're talking about it.
Yep.
If you don't have an insulin sensitivity issue and your body is not asking for and trying to grasp onto more IGF-1, it's not going to use it. You simply excrete it through urine or sweat. So we do maximum dosages because your body, what it does not use, it will just excrete.
Got it. Okay. Oh, that's so interesting. So tell our viewers and our listeners just how they can find everything. We'll have all the links, of course, in the description, but where's the best place for them to hit with regards to finding the BioProtein technology?
Well, you can always go to any of the clinics that provide our product. If you want to go there super fast and you want to find out about us super quick, we have a website like every other I mean, I'm assuming every other company that's, in existence. And that
Yeah.
website is bioproteintech.com, BioProteintech.com. If you're a
Perfect.
social media fan, we're really big on the Instagram. You can find us on Instagram at BioProtein Tech, BioProteintech. And come say hi.
Perfect.
We're a user generated style company. We love hearing from people. We love questions. There's people who are operating this stuff, whether it's the chat bot on the website, whether it's somebody on the Instagram. It's actually people who work for us. It's not outsourced overseas, some crazy
Amazing.
time or some weird person you're going to talk to.
Yeah.
These are real individuals who are within our offices for us, that love the product, use the product, and are part of our environment, not just some random person on the other side of the world.
Amazing. Well, and so we'll have all of that information in the description. So if you want to click on there. And do you have, so with regards to the clinics, and I'll kind of wrap it up here, but with regards to clinics, do you have a page on that website where the clinics are listed, where if somebody's in a certain area, or do they reach out to your team to find out who's in their area?
No, they
If
would
they want
just
to work with the
they could just
physician.
reach out to us directly, either through
Perfect.
social media or through like I said, we have a live connection to a customer support
Perfect.
representative that can you shoot us your information and we can send you to a clinician that is closest to you.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I hope everybody listening, watching, I hope you learned something today. I think there was a lot of aha moments that some people would have listening to this, just with regards to, again, aging and longevity, and doing it gracefully and making sure that you have that quality that you want for yourselves. I know I do. And so thank you so much again for joining us today, Dustin. And for those of you
Thank
watching
you
on
for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. And for those of you watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my channel. We have a brand new episode every 2 weeks. Give this one a thumbs up. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast host, we appreciate you. Give this episode a like, and we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us today on the Human Optimization Podcast. Episode technical production is by Grace Sylvester and guest booking by Stu Tate. Want to learn more? Visit Pitel-Killah.com for incredible free resources to supercharge your journey to becoming the best version of you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to the Human Optimization Podcast and follow me on social media at Pitel-Killah.